It all started on a regular Wednesday night. There was nothing special about it, just me, Christina, and some leftovers from our favorite Thai place. But then, she dropped the bombshell, "I think we need a break." Now, I'm not the type of guy to panic easily. I've always built my life with steady hands. I own my house, I have a solid career in IT, and I like to keep things simple. But when Christina said those words, it threw me off for a moment. I hadn't seen it coming. And then it hit me, Christina wanted space. Fine, I thought, she can have it. But it wasn't going to happen under my roof. I stayed calm, put my fork down, and looked her straight in the eyes. "Okay, if you need a break, take it," I said, my voice even. "But this is my house, so you'll need to pack your things and figure out where you're going to stay." The look on her face was almost comical, like I had just told her to move to another planet. "Wait, seriously?" she asked, disbelief in her voice. "Yes, seriously," I replied. What did she expect? For me to wait around while she found herself? If someone's unsure about you, why should you sit around waiting for them to decide? I wasn't interested in being anyone's safety net. To her credit, she didn't argue much. Maybe she thought I'd fight for her to stay or beg for an explanation, but I wasn't about to beg anyone to be in my life, not even Christina. By the end of the night, she packed a suitcase and called her sister to come pick her up. She stood at the door for a moment, like she wanted to say something, but I just opened the door and held it for her. That's the thing, if someone wants to leave, let them go. Don't hold on tighter and make them feel trapped. You just let them go. Once the house was quiet, I sat down in the living room, staring at the half-eaten pad thai on the coffee table. It didn't feel like some huge emotional scene. It felt more like a shrug. I wasn't heartbroken or devastated. I was just annoyed. I had built a life where Christina had every opportunity to be happy, and instead of talking to me about whatever was bothering her, she decided to take the easy way out, a break. The next day, I packed up the few things she had left behind, some toiletries, a couple of her favorite hoodies she always stole from me, and her dog-eared copy of Pride and Prejudice. I put everything in a box and shoved it in the hallway closet. If she wanted her stuff back, she could ask for it. I wasn't about to chase her down with a care package. Life without Christina didn't change much at first. I still got up at 6 a.m., went to the gym, and spent my days working on client projects. The house was quieter, but that wasn't necessarily a bad thing. I had more time to think, more time to focus on myself. It wasn't like I didn't care about Christina. I just wasn't going to let her absence throw my entire life off balance. What did throw me off, though, was how easily she walked away. I started replaying the past few months in my head, wondering if I'd missed something. Were there signs she was unhappy? Were there moments when I should have noticed her pulling away? I didn't think so. Our relationship wasn't perfect, but it wasn't on life support either. We didn't fight much, and when we did, it was over stupid stuff like what to order for dinner or who left the toothpaste cap off. Normal couple things. Christina never mentioned feeling stuck. She never gave me any real warning that she was thinking about taking a step back. She just decided. And that's what annoyed me the most. Relationships are supposed to be partnerships. You don't just decide unilaterally to hit pause. You talk, you figure it out together. But she didn't give me that chance. She made her decision and expected me to sit around, twiddling my thumbs, until she was ready to come back. No thanks. Over the next few days, I started hearing from friends and family who had caught wind of what happened. My sister called me first. "She left just like that?" she asked, sounding more shocked than I felt. I gave her the short version of the story, and she was quick to reassure me that I'd made the right call by not begging Christina to stay. "Don't let her walk all over you," she said. "If she doesn't know what she has, that's on her." Then there was Alex, my best friend and unofficial therapist. He swung by the house a couple of nights later to check on me. He wasn't one for pep talks, but he did point out the obvious: "You dodged a bullet, man. If she's this indecisive now, imagine how she'd act in a real crisis." That stuck with me. If Christina couldn't handle the everyday ups and downs of a relationship, What would have happened when life got tough? What if we'd been married? What if there were kids involved? It was better to find out now before things got any more complicated. By the end of the week, I felt like I'd made peace with the whole situation. If Christina wanted her break, she could have it. I wasn't going to chase after her or waste my time wondering what she was up to. That's the thing about people who say they need space half the time, it's not about finding themselves. It's about finding out if the grass is greener somewhere else. And if they think they can come back to you once they're done looking, they're dead wrong. I knew I deserved better than that, and I wasn't about to settle for someone who didn't see my worth. So, I kept moving forward, confident that I'd made the right choice. And honestly, it felt pretty damn good. I shook my head. It wasn't that I felt hurt, I didn't. But it was disappointing in a way I didn't expect. After all these years together, I thought she'd at least take some time to reflect or, I don't know, show a little respect for what we had. Instead, she was out there acting like a single woman who'd never been in a relationship. It was like I didn't exist. I closed Instagram and didn't look at her profile again after that. I didn't need to. Whatever she was doing, she could keep doing it. I had no interest in being part of her audience. What did bug me, though, was how she was framing the situation to people. A mutual friend, Rachel, called me one evening. "So, Christina told me you two are taking a break," she said, her voice full of skepticism. "But she made it sound like it was your idea." That made me laugh. "Rachel, I don't know what she told you, but let's be clear, Christina asked for the break, not me. I just told her she couldn't stick around here while she figured it out. She needed space, so I gave it to her." Rachel sighed. "Yeah, that's not how she's spinning it. She's acting like you pushed her out or something." That didn't surprise me. Christina had always had a way of twisting things to make herself look like the victim. But I wasn't going to waste my energy correcting her narrative. If people wanted to believe her version of events, fine. The people who mattered knew the truth, and that was enough for me. The most ironic part of it all? The more I heard about Christina's escapades, the more confident I felt in my decision to let her go. She wasn't the person I thought she was, or maybe I just hadn't been paying attention. Either way, I didn't feel like I lost anything. If anything, I felt like I dodged a long-term headache. Every time someone told me about another guy she was spotted with, I just nodded and moved on. It became a joke between me and Alex. "Man, she's going through them like a buffet," he said one night. I laughed because it wasn't far from the truth. Christina wasn't finding herself, she was just trying to fill whatever void she had with attention from random guys. But that wasn't my problem anymore. By the end of the second week, the whispers started to die down. Maybe people got tired of keeping me updated, or maybe Christina's antics weren't as interesting anymore. Either way, I felt a sense of relief. I didn't need to hear about her life. I was too busy living mine. Here's the thing, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Christina showed me that she wasn't serious about us. She wanted to see what else was out there, and I wasn't about to stop her. But I wasn't going to wait around for her, either. I had my house, my life, and my dignity. That was worth more than any relationship with someone who didn't know what they wanted. 3 weeks after Christina left, I got a text from her out of nowhere. Just 4 words, "Can we meet up? No, how are you, or I've been thinking about things." Straight to the point. Honestly, I laughed when I saw it. After everything, now she wanted to talk? I wasn't about to jump at the chance to sit down and rehash whatever nonsense was going on in her head. But I'm not one to leave things unresolved either, so I replied, "When and where?" She suggested the park we used to go to all the time, this little spot downtown where we'd sit for hours pretending life wasn't as hectic as it really was. I agreed, mostly because I wanted to see what excuse she'd try to pull out of her hat this time. Part of me already knew this wasn't going to be an apology. It would be some half-baked attempt to justify herself. The day of the meeting, I showed up 10 minutes early, not because I was eager, but because I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of arriving first and feeling like she had the upper hand. I grabbed my coffee on the way and sat on a bench near the big fountain, sipping slowly as I waited. When she arrived, I noticed two things right away. First, she looked like she'd been overthinking everything. Hair tied up, no makeup, wearing that oversized sweater she always reached for when she felt guilty about something. Second, she looked smaller, somehow not physically, but in a way that made it clear she wasn't as confident as she'd been when she walked out of my house 3 weeks ago. She spotted me, waved awkwardly, and made her way over. I didn't stand up. I just leaned back in my chair and nodded. If she wanted to talk, she could do the work. I wasn't about to make this easy for her. "Thanks for meeting me," she started, sitting down. I didn't reply. I just raised an eyebrow and waited for her to get to the point. Let her squirm a little. She deserved it. She launched into this long, rambling explanation about how she'd been feeling lost and confused when she asked for the break. She tried to spin it like she was doing me a favor by stepping away to figure herself out. "I didn't want to drag you down while I was sorting through my feelings," she said, avoiding eye contact. That one made me chuckle. Dragging me down? I wasn't the one who needed sorting out. My life was stable. She was the one who couldn't figure out what she wanted and somehow convinced herself that leaving was a selfless act. "I just needed time," she continued, "to see if I could be the best version of myself for us." Like she had been doing all this soul-searching for no reason and benefit. I almost rolled my eyes when she finally stopped talking. I said, keeping my tone neutral, "How'd that time work out for you?" That threw her off. She blinked a few times, clearly not expecting me to be so blunt. "It's been enlightening," she said hesitantly. "I realized that I was taking you for granted. That I wasn't appreciating everything you brought to the relationship." I didn't say anything. I just nodded for her to continue. I wasn't about to help her dig herself out of this hole. "I made some mistakes during the break," she added, her voice getting quieter. Mistakes? That was the word she chose. Not choices, not decisions, mistakes, like everything that happened was some kind of accident. I stayed calm and said, "I heard about your mistakes, Christina. People talk. I know about the bar, the restaurant, the jogging partner." Her face turned red, and she started stammering. "I didn't mean for it to happen like that. I thought I needed to see if I was missing something." I shook my head. "You weren't missing anything. You had everything you needed, and you threw it away to see if you could find someone better. That's on you." She looked like she wanted to cry, but I didn't care. I wasn't going to comfort her. She was the one who chose to walk out, and now she had to deal with the consequences. "I realize now how much I care about you," she said, her voice shaky. "I want us to work things out. I want to come home." There it was, the big reveal. She wanted to come back. But not because she had suddenly realized my worth. No, it was because the fantasy she'd been chasing didn't live up to her expectations. Maybe the guys she was seeing didn't treat her the way I did. Maybe they weren't as patient or stable. But whatever the reason, it didn't matter. She wasn't asking to come back because she loved me. She was asking because I was her safe bet. "No," I said simply, leaning back in my chair. She blinked, clearly not expecting that response. "No, that's right," I said. "You wanted a break, and you got it. But you don't get to walk back into my life just because things didn't go the way you thought they would." She tried to argue, to plead her case, but I wasn't interested. I stood up. "Take care of yourself, Christina," I said before leaving. I didn't look back. I didn't wait to see if she'd follow me or call after me. As far as I was concerned, that chapter was closed. She had made her choices, and now she had to live with them. That chapter was closed, but just when I thought it was all behind me, I got a message from a random number. "Hey, this is Ryan. Can we talk? It's about Christina." I almost didn't respond. Ryan? Who the hell was Ryan? I wasn't interested in any more drama. The idea of getting sucked back into Christina's orbit made me shake my head. But curiosity got the better of me, so I texted back a simple, "What do you want?" His response came quickly, "It's better if we talk in person. Can we meet?" I had no idea what this guy wanted, but something about the message felt off. If it were Christina reaching out, I wouldn't have given her the time of day, but this was different. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him at a cafe downtown the next day. Worst case, I'd waste 30 minutes of my life. Best case, I get some clarity on why this guy thought it was necessary to talk to me. The next afternoon, I walked into the cafe and spotted him right away. He was sitting at a corner table, fidgeting with his cup. Early 30s, clean cut, one of those guys who probably spends half his life on LinkedIn. I sat down across from him, not bothering with any small talk. "You Ryan?" I asked. He nodded, looking more nervous than I expected. "Yeah, thanks for meeting me," he said, shifting in his seat. "I wasn't sure if I should reach out, but I felt like you deserved to know the truth." "The truth?" I leaned back in my chair and crossed my arms. "All right then, what's the truth?" Ryan took a deep breath, like he was gearing up to confess something big. "I've been seeing Christina." I raised an eyebrow but didn't say anything. No surprise there. I already knew Christina had been jumping from guy to guy since she left. The difference was, I hadn't cared enough to put faces or names to any of them. Ryan was just another name on the list. He must have noticed my lack of reaction because he kept talking, words tumbling out faster now. "The thing is, when we started seeing each other, she told me you two were done. Like, completely done. She said the break was just a formality and that you were emotionally checked out." I almost laughed. "Emotionally checked out?" I repeated, shaking my head. "Yeah, that's not how it went down. She asked for the break. I told her to pack her bags. End of story." Ryan looked genuinely uncomfortable, which, frankly, I found satisfying. He was starting to realize he'd been played. "She made it sound like you were the one who didn't care," he admitted. Like she had no choice but to move on. Classic Christina, twisting the narrative to make herself look like the victim. It didn't surprise me, but it did confirm one thing: she hadn't changed. Not even a little. "So why are you telling me this now?" I asked, leaning forward slightly. "What's the point?" Ryan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Because I started noticing things. Little things that didn't add up. She'd mention you in passing, like you were still in the picture somehow. She'd tell stories about your house, about things you used to do together, and it didn't make sense if she was really over you." I didn't say anything, letting him dig his own hole. The longer he talked, the more apparent it became that he'd been strung along just like I had, except I'd woken up to it a lot sooner. "She wasn't honest with either of us," he continued. "She made me think you were the bad guy, but now I see it. She was keeping her options open, playing both sides. And when things between us started falling apart, she started talking about wanting to go back to you." There it was. The real reason he wanted to meet. Ryan wasn't here to clear his conscience. He was here because he'd been burned and didn't want to go down alone. "Let me get this straight," I said, my voice calm but firm. "She told you we were done, made you think I didn't care, and then tried to use me as a backup plan when things with you didn't work out?" He nodded, looking sheepish. "Pretty much." I leaned back in my chair and let out a low chuckle. "Sounds like you've had a rough time, man. But here's the thing, I already knew she was like this. That's why she's not in my life anymore." Ryan looked surprised, like he expected me to blow up or feel betrayed. But why would I? Christina had shown me exactly who she was. I didn't need Ryan to validate what I already knew. For a moment, we sat there in silence. Ryan fidgeted with his cup again, clearly unsure of what to say next. Finally, he looked up at me and said, "I just thought you should know. I didn't want you to think you were crazy or anything." "Crazy?" I repeated with a smirk. "I'm not the one who got played. I saw through her the moment she asked for that break. You, on the other hand," I let the sentence hang, letting him feel the weight of his own choices. To his credit, Ryan didn't try to defend himself. He just nodded, like he knew he'd screwed up by getting involved with her in the first place. When we finally stood up to leave, Ryan hesitated for a moment before extending his hand. I considered ignoring it, but decided to shake it anyway. No point in holding a grudge against someone who was just as much a victim of Christina's games as I had been. "Good luck," he said, his voice quiet. "I hope you find someone who deserves you." "You too," I replied, though I wasn't sure he'd learned his lesson yet. On the drive home, I couldn't help but laugh at how messy the whole situation had become. Christina thought she could keep both of us on a string, but in the end, she ended up with neither. It was almost poetic. She'd played herself. After my little chat with Ryan, I was done. Done with Christina. Done with her drama. Done with everything that even remotely involved her. I thought the door had already been closed when I walked out of that park, but meeting Ryan put the final nail in it. The confirmation that she had been stringing both of us along, that was all I needed to wipe my hands clean of her nonsense for good. But, of course, Christina wasn't about to let things end quietly. A couple of days later, she texted me again. "Hey, can we please talk? I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I really want us to work this out." I didn't even bother replying. What was there to talk about? She didn't get to come crawling back just because things didn't work out the way she wanted. Silence was the only response she deserved. Ignoring her didn't stop her from trying, though. Over the next week, she sent more texts. Some were apologies full of self-pity and regret. "I know I messed up. I wish I could take it all back." Others were attempts to guilt me into responding. "I just need closure." Don't I deserve that? No, she didn't. Closure wasn't something I owed her. Then came the calls. I'd see her name pop up on my phone screen, and every time, I'd hit decline without a second thought. It was almost laughable how desperate she was getting. She'd burned every bridge between us, and now she was scrambling to rebuild them with empty words. I wasn't buying it. One night, she showed up at my house. I was in the middle of a woodworking project in the garage when I heard a knock at the door. At first, I thought it was Alex dropping by unannounced, like he sometimes did. But when I opened the door and saw Christina standing there, I sighed. She looked different, not in the "I've been working on myself" kind of way, but in the "I'm not handling this well" kind of way. Her hair was messy, her eyes were red, and she had this pitiful look on her face that might have worked on someone else, but not on me. "What do you want, Christina?" I asked, leaning against the doorframe. She hesitated, probably trying to come up with the perfect thing to say. But all that came out was, "I miss you." I almost laughed. Miss me? The guy she thought she could keep on standby while she tested out her little flings. "Yeah, no thanks," I said. "I don't know what you want me to say. You made your choice, and I made mine." "I made a mistake," she said quickly, her voice trembling. "I thought I needed something different, but I didn't. I had everything I needed with you, and I was too blind to see it." I crossed my arms and gave her a long, hard look. "You think you can just show up here, say a few nice words, and I'll forget everything you did? That's not how it works, Christina." She started to cry, tears streaming down her face as she tried to plead her case. I didn't know what I was doing. I was confused. I got caught up in my own head. "I'm sorry, Noah. I really am. Can't we just start over?" Her tears didn't move me. They might have worked on Ryan, or whatever other guy she'd been messing with, but not on me. "Starting over isn't an option," I said firmly. "You wanted space, you got it. You wanted to explore other options, you did. Now, you're dealing with the consequences of your actions. That's not my problem." She stood there for a moment, stunned into silence. Then she tried one last angle. "What about everything we built together? Doesn't that mean anything to you?" "It did," I said, my voice calm but firm. "But I don't hate you. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just not going to let you back into my life just because you realized you made a mistake." You need to move on, Christina. I have. Her face crumpled, and for a moment, I thought she was going to argue again. But instead, she just nodded, wiping her tears with the sleeve of her hoodie. I'm sorry, she said quietly. For everything. I didn't respond. What was there to say? I closed the door as she walked away, not bothering to watch her go. I felt nothing, no sadness, no anger, no regret. Just relief. She was out of my life for good, and that was exactly where she needed to stay. After that night, she didn't try to contact me again. Maybe she finally got the message, or maybe she was too embarrassed to keep trying. Either way, I didn't care. My life was better without her, and I wasn't about to let her back in. I started planning a trip I'd always wanted to take but never had the time for. Life felt full again, not because of anyone else, but because I was building it on my own terms. No games, no drama. Just peace. Here's the thing, people like Christina don't change. They might say all the right words, cry all the right tears, but at the end of the day, their actions speak louder. And her actions told me everything I needed to know. She didn't value what we had. She thought she could walk away, try something new, and come back when it suited her. But that's not how life works. Not with me, anyway. I don't regret the time we spent together, but I also don't miss it. That chapter of my life is closed, locked, and the key has been thrown away. If she's smart, she'll learn from this and do better with the next guy. But me? I've already moved on.